Hi there, welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host. Today we're going to be covering Swans' sixth record, 1989's The Burning World. A major departure from some of their earlier work, this is Swans' only release on a major label. It was co-produced by Bill Laswell, which led the record to be kind of more of a folky sound with a lot more lush sonic atmospheres. This record performed pretty poorly. Swans was dropped from their label pretty soon after the release of this record. It's rumored that in the UK, this album only sold like 5,000 copies, so it didn't do very well. A lot of the critics' scores put this thing around 2 or 3 stars, but we're going to cover it today. Track listing is as follows. Side 1 is The River That Runs With Love Won't Run Dry, Let It Come Down, Can't Find My Way Home, which is a Blind Faith cover, Mona Lisa Mother Earth, and She's a Universal Emptiness. Side 2 is Saved, I Remember Who You Are, Jane Mary, Cry One Tear, See No More, and Goddamn the Sun. So, we're going to give all these tracks a listen on side 1, come back to you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Side 1 of the record, we've got The River That Runs With Love Won't Run Dry. The differences between The Burning World and most of the rest of Swans' early discography become immediately very apparent right on the opening of this album. There's just this immediate departure from some of the harsh no-wave industrial that Swans had been experimenting with and toying with over the past few years to the material that's on The Burning World, with mostly like this incredibly unexpected folk sound. And despite how beautiful and like I was saying, lush and full these tracks are, they're very, very somber and very, very sad. The themes pretty much remain consistent among the rest of this record, with the sad themes and the struggling with depression and alcoholism. They're also accompanied with very beautiful soundscapes that Gira and company are delivering. This track is the first example of this shift for this album, for sure. Track 2 on the record is Let It Come Down. Gira's vocals on this track seem a little bit subdued, combined with Bill Laswell's very full production. This track sort of plods along at like a jaunty tempo, with some hints of industrial beats in the form of very solid percussion and like woodblock percussion. The sound can really only be described on this song as haunting. Track 3 is the Blind Faith cover in Can't Find My Way Home. An entirely unexpected but incredibly welcome cover is one of the highlights of side A, I'd say, with Jarbo taking up vocal duties on this track, with probably, I would say, the best cover that exists of this song. The guitar and vocals are even more gentle than the original track, and the entire theme of the song has been sort of adjusted to fit into the scope of The Burning World's themes. Track 4 is Mona Lisa Mother Earth. This song greets us with more higher tempo, one of the higher tempo tracks on side A, with lots of percussive elements and hypnotic chanting, with Michael Gira's vocal drawl pulling along the track in very riveting form. This is probably the strongest indicator, this track, of where the band would head sonically over the next couple decades. Track 5 is She's a Universal Emptiness. Lyrics on this track are loaded with Gira's struggles with alcoholism and depression that become really cohesive on this work. This song, as well as this album, is like kind of exercises in sadness. I think there's really a lot of ways you can interpret the lyrics and a lot of the themes on this track and most of the album. Most of them tend to lead back to Michael Gira's personal experiences. The lyrics are less so sung and more so delivered like poetry on this song as well. That is it for side A. We're going to give side B a listen here and we'll come back to you. So far, enjoying the album. We'll see you on the flip side. Side 2 of the record starts off with the track Saved. This is the only song off the record to enjoy a small amount of commercial success, mostly through college radio stations. Saved, another one of these lush, full mixes with just lots of like sonic bliss. Really fantastic arrangements on this thing as well. Gira delivers some lighter tones on this track with slightly more varied vocal delivery, and all of which just falls into this track listing very cohesively. Track 7, I Remember Who You Are, one of the more stripped-back songs on the album, with gentle acoustic guitar and violin, accompanied once again by Jarbo on vocals. This track, I'd say, is probably the most beautiful on the record. The folk elements are really kicked up a notch to contrast the relatively dark lyrics. Track 8 is Jane May, Cry One Tear. One of the more monotonous vocal tracks from Gira, floats over more heavy instrumentations. Once again, production is very full and the lyrics are top-notch, but this track kind of overstays its welcome a little bit, as it kind of remains unchanged through most of the track without building too much tension until the very last moments of the track, where you get kind of a little bit of hint of industrial stuff here. It's one of the lesser interesting tracks on the album, but it's not an awful song. It's just kind of in the track listing. Track 9 is See No More. This song has more jaunty like rhythms and beats that help lead the intro into the verse of this track. The lyrics here follow a theme of the sun and setting suns that help with the transition and continuity into the next track. Unlike the last track, this song very much continues to build tension between verses with varying tempos and arrangements. Nothing here really seems wasted, and the momentum that this track builds kind of pulls into the next track as well. This track being higher tempo than the final track, but you can definitely feel that they're building towards something on this song. The final track on the record is Goddamn the Sun, probably the best track on the record in my opinion. The final song of this album is still a live staple of the Swans' live set, even to this day. This is definitely the darkest track lyrically, and the most personally revealing for Michael Jura's mental machinations. Every segment of this song is really radically gorgeous and melancholy. Goddamn the Sun, it's just easily the strongest song on the album, and I can see why they still play it live to this day. Probably one of the best Swan songs in their entire catalog. This album, while radically different from their previous work, I think is the most on the nose that Swans has been in this segment of their career. It's also definitely the most telling of where the band is going to go, like I was saying, over the next couple decades. Many tracks off of this thing you could place probably on like The Seer or The Glowing Man and they would fit right in. It's minus the like 18-minute long segment songs off of their newer material. This album is definitely just very, very strong in its progressiveness. I would say some of the negative feedback and backlash is kind of deserved at this early of a stage, as it was such a strong transition from their early material to this. However, I think that if you haven't listened to this album, you should absolutely go and check it out. It is not on Spotify, and I doubt it will ever be, as Michael Jura has been commented saying that he loathes this album. However, you can find it on YouTube in its entirety. You should go ahead and give this thing a listen if you've listened to Swans but haven't heard this record here. What should I review next? How am I doing? Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one. And just thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you on the flip side.